Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Awaken the World. My name is Garen, and we're going to be talking about stroking ego this evening. And the image you see overlaid over my mug is the new logo for our YouTube channel art for the YouTube channel. And this is a look at the logo. I just designed this afternoon. And this is the direction we're going as we continue to grow our YouTube branding and expand the channel. Hello, Cindy. Nice to see you this evening. So I thought we'd give you a quick look at the artwork and the way it's going. We're almost ready for the YouTube live streaming. We're hoping we can do that for tomorrow evenings. Should be right on schedule. We'll keep everyone up to date, though, as the day goes. And yeah, so that's where we are for our artwork. And that's going to disappear now. Nice to see you all. Good evening. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, I hemmed and hawed about it. It had to be a little more flashy, but I didn't want to make it overcrowded or you know, an eyesore either. So this evening we're going to be talking about stroking ego. And this came up actually. Devora had complimented Kelly via Messenger on something, and Kelly had mentioned to me about compliments, and we were talking about compliments. And, you know, I really had to think about this one. I really did, okay? And it really comes down to how we compliment. I don't think that compliments are bad things. I really don't. Whether or not it's going to inflate someone's ego is always a concern. So some of the ways we can compliment and build self-esteem without inflating ego, okay, would include such things as complimenting the work put into a project, not the outcome. And this can apply to children or it can apply to adults, okay? So if your child is creating a Lego warship, a space warship out of Lego, and they spend all day doing it, rather than say what a beautiful warship you've made, you're far better off to compliment the effort put in, the attention to detail, the single-pointed attention. Compliment those things you wish to see arise in the child. We have to be very careful that we don't get into the idea of training our child accidentally that they're somehow, you know, special. And I know as parents it's easy to think, well, you know, they're our child, of course they're special. That's true. But so is every other child. Just as special, just as unique, just as precious. And when we teach one without the other, we run the risk of creating unintentionally teenagers and then adults who are deeply asleep, deeply unconscious people with heavily inflated egos that are going to be hard to get by. So, for example, when someone does a kindness, when you see someone do a kindness, rather than praise the individual directly for the kindness, you can instead compliment and praise their willingness to see themselves in another, for example. This is the way that I try and couch my compliments when I do hand them out. And, you know, every evening when my wife, in her loving kindness, and we've talked about it because I've said to her, you know, it's not fair that you do all the cooking just because I'm busy doing other things. If you want me to cook, I'm game. I'll do it. But, you know, she loves to cook. And that's one of the ways that she shows her love to me is through the cooking. And she loves that. So, you know, she'll cook a fantastic meal. And at the end of every meal, the food is wonderful. I always say, honey, thank you. That was fantastic. But I'm not complimenting her directly, and you know, because of our relationship, we're able to talk about what complimenting is and where the issues come in. So when it comes to stroking the ego, I did a little web search of this because I was looking for other ideas when it came to children. Well, how do we compliment children? How do we boost self-esteem without creating an overly centered ego being? And the answer through various articles was exactly what I've just said. You compliment not so much them, but their behavior, their willingness to respect others. You don't compliment them on winning per se, because that implants an idea that they're good when they win, and they're not good when they don't win, and that can create real problems later in life. And child psychology is just coming on par with these things in the last decade or so. Prior to that, you wouldn't have heard anything about building ego, but now they do talk about it. So we're making progress as a race. In that search, though, I found tens of thousands of pages in comparison that were all about how to stroke people's egos, especially in relationships, to somehow get what you want. And this is a danger that we have to watch for in ourselves. So when you give someone a compliment, let's just say that the best way to give a compliment is to deliver it as impersonably as possible. And I'm not mean not without compassion or a smile or a hug or anything else, but point to the action. Point to that which evolves and uplifts, that which serves the society as a whole. And if we're going to get involved in, and we have to be on guard for this all the time, other people's attempts to stroke our ego in order to achieve an end result. And we're all guilty of doing this at some time or another. I strive really hard not to, but I've done it from time to time. Our good friend, Laura, who is now in Victoria, she talked about Victoria for decades, apparently, or 10 years or better, 15 years. And after 2 years of her talking with us, with Kelly and I together, I kind of gave her a little psychological push over the cliff to get her set on her way to Victoria. And a year later, she was in Victoria, and she's having an awesome time. As a matter of fact, she sent us a note a while ago. She's dragon boating now as part of a team out there, and she's just having a riot on the ocean. I'm kind of jealous. I have to say. No, the point being is we don't want to do that with people. And, it's our society literally teaches people that if you want to get something, you just stroke their ego a little bit. And we tend to do this in situations where we're looking to get something out of it. So when it comes to compliments, when it comes to uplifting people, there's nothing wrong with uplifting people into the direction of conscious awareness and evolution. If our compliments, if our desire to uplift is actually dragging them down further into the massive ego, that's where our compliments do harm and not good. And, I read an interesting little piece today, and it did sum up the one thing you can do when you receive a compliment, because we're talking about giving them. But what about when we receive a compliment? The first thing I do is I immediately look through the person to see if the compliment is legitimate. If they are wholeheartedly and honestly just wishing to recognize in their perception what I've done. And if that is so, I smile and I take the compliment. But I take the compliment allowing the words to follow right after that. And if you would not have liked it, I still would have felt the same way. I remind myself on a regular basis, don't get caught up in the compliment. Don't get caught up in the ego building. I'm already whole. I'm already complete. If that person had said a put down instead, or a compliment that I didn't agree with or like, it would still have the same effect on me. There's an outward smile and a graciousness in accepting the other person's perception. and the complement that comes along with it. But there is nothing inside that's allowing the complement to stick around and balloon it up in any way. It passes right through, keeps on going. Another little thing I want to touch base on this evening is the whole transition to the YouTube-based system and why we're going there. We are going to start running a daily 1-hour open live help session with an online chat through YouTube that will be visible on the screen itself. So you'll be able to see what you write there and everyone else will, and these videos can be very instructive and very helpful to help out hopefully thousands of people over time to grow towards awareness, to work through their sense of suffering that they have, and one day come to the choice that they no longer have to suffer. And you know, so much of what I see all comes down to perceptions. You know, my wife is wrapped up in this thing with her family, and she has no peace with it yet. No peace. And thank you, Cindy. Yeah, I can't wait either. I'm looking forward to it, actually. And, you know, we talked, and I said, you have to put this to rest. One way or the other. You have to walk through your fears. You have to make notes about compassionately standing in your truth, what you have to say. And you have to get on the telephone at the very least, if you can't do it face to face. And here's the thing. What is keeping a mother and daughter apart? A mother's false perceptions based on her belief system. What is it that allows one man to kill another? The false perception that that man is different than the one doing the killing. What difference whether the 5-year-old girl raped and murdered is black, Hispanic, white, Native, East Indian, Japanese, Chinese, South Vietnamese, Russian, Brazilian? What matter does it make? We in our false possessions all the time, we do this over and over and over again. When in our false perceptions, we judge that which we perceive outside of ourselves as somehow being other, not us. And it is us, and it's part of us. Again, thoughts and perceptions, so important. I really want everyone to think about that and take a look at the thoughts and perceptions video again. Also, some more questions. We'd love to see some more questions coming up in the announcement section. There's posts there to deal with them. Much love to you all. Namaste. And for now, we're going to turn you back over to a little bit of the music, and then we'll be signing off. Again, much love.